Hey, my creative friends. My name is Shannon from shannonstudio.com. And we are here to talk about creative life tips. And this, it's February, the love month, and we have been talking about marriage in particular. And so we are going to talk about that till tomorrow. And then tomorrow's Valentine's Day, so we've just kind of let up and just thought it would be good to talk about marriage before Valentine's Day. So anyways, first off, I have a whole explosion of pink behind me. I mean, it's just like, just projects, one right after the other. I'm working on a project right now. I was actually tonight going to show you what I do for Valentine's Day, but I'm going to have to just show you pictures. I have the tradition of the morning is the kids' time, so I set something on the table for them to wake up to, just like a tiny little mini Christmas. Just some kind of toy or something for them in the morning. So then we make a big deal. Hey, Trisha and Rose. So we make a big deal in the morning for the kids, and then the evening is the boyfriend and I. So we have the evening and the kids have the morning. And they have loved that. And my kids have said, a couple of the older girls said that they didn't mind Valentine's Day, because Valentine's Day is couples and stuff. They never minded Valentine's Day because they were always included. They always had something right off at the beginning of the day. And so it never really bothered them. And so, I don't know why I started that. It just did, and it's now a tradition. Now I'm having that for passing it on to Layla's boy. Angel Mama is what we call her, and Angel Dad is Sky. So yeah, I was going to show you setup and stuff like that, but I didn't quite get around to it, and so I'll do it after this video because I forgot I had a class before this. An online class I'm taking. And so I had that, and so I didn't take the time to do the video, to do that. I could have maybe had you set it up, but nah. so that, and then, today, we've had this thing about macaroons since Paris. Joseph loves macaroons. And we haven't had them since Paris, but he's talked about it. And so he was like, you need to make some. And I said, I'll get you some macaroons. First off, I'll get you some macaroons. That's fine. We went looking all over and couldn't find any. And then it was like, okay, I'll make some. I've never made macaroons before, and I didn't really want to. I have a few projects going on. And so then it was like, it became this thing. And so finally found some macaroons today. And so he got to sit on his little reading bed and with the pillows around him and the blanket on him and have his little macaroons. It's pretty cute. Okay, so what we're going to talk about tonight is how to write a love letter. And I chose this because Alan, well, first off, backstory, Alan and I met him when I was 15 and he was 18. And then he, after about, knowing each other for about a year, dating some of that time, it's serious, dating some of that time, he left on a mission for our church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He left on a mission for 2 years. So he's gone for 2 years, and you don't contact your family. You don't, like phone calls and that sort of stuff. You write letters. This was back in the day. And so we wrote to each other for 2 years, and we have all those letters, and it was great because we got to know each other on a different level. So the letters were great, and then even as being a married couple, he's worked overseas on oil rigs, and so he would be gone for a month and home for a month. And before they had the internet and video chat and all that, they had letters. And so we would write to each other. And so we have a bunch of those letters. And I am glad we have those in that history and that written record. But a love letter is a little bit different. And I'm trying to think if we have any like specific love letters. I really kind of consider his writing in the front of my scriptures. He gave me scriptures, I want to say 25 years ago. And then he wrote in the front cover. And to me, that was a love letter, the way he wrote that. And then he wrote a poem and gave it to me for Christmas. And I kind of consider it, he called it My Lover's Hair. And if any of you know what, Rose and Trisha, you know Alan, it's like he wrote a poem. And it was so different for him, but it had all these elements in it that I'm going to talk about tonight. And so there are those parts of you, of other people, that deserve to be put down on paper in a different way. Okay, so first off, a love letter is handwritten. You've got to have your hand on it. That person's got to know your hand wrote it. You personally touched it. It's a tangible thing of that your hand touched this page. So it's got to be handwritten. It's got your swirls, your lines, the way you sign your name. It just has a certain feel when you handwrite it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is it has to be written deliberately. So it, not like in a rush, not like, jotting a note. This isn't a note. This isn't jotting a note to someone. It's a love letter. It has to be deliberate, very thoughtful. It has to take your time with it. And, maybe you do it over time. It's like you start and then you let it, like I say, percolate. I don't know if any of you remember percolating coffee pots. How they just anyways, love that imagery of percolating, that word. Okay, so deliberate. It's meant to be cherished. It's going to be cherished. It's going to be reread. It's going to be pulled out and thought about and just lingered over. So know that it's going to be cherished and put that kind of put that into knowing that it's not going to be let go. It's going to be reread. And so then, with that in mind, put a piece of your heart into it. Don't hold back. This is personal. It's personal. You have to. Don't be stingy with what you're feeling, and you put that heart into it. Put it in there. You don't know how many times that's going to be reread, and that person's going to feel that from you every time they read it. They're going to feel that piece of your heart. Every time I read that thing about that he's written to me in this for my scriptures, it's just like it's a piece of his heart right there for me to hold and look at. Then let's see. Have a bit of poetry to it. I think in this day and age, in our little 150 word text, or whatever they were, that we 150 letter things, but our little short little snippets, our texts, our posts, we're very, very quick, and we don't even write a whole words out. We have abbreviations. So having taking the time and putting a little poetry into it, looking for certain words. I don't even know if some kids know what a thesaurus is anymore, but go in there. Since it's deliberate and it's going to take time, go in there and look at some other words, look at the definitions, bring in some words that maybe you don't normally use, but that you really do feel, and it gives more meaning to what you're doing. So because when I go through the thesaurus, I look up a word, but then when I start looking up the synonyms, I'm like, oh, that's the word. That's the word that really describes. We're used to having a certain number of words that we normally use. And so we don't think about using these words until we deliberately go in and look at them up and find them. And it was like, you think, oh, those are the perfect words. So add a little bit of poetry to it, meaning words and things that kind of have a beautiful ring to it even. Let's see. And think about this being a moment in time. That it's take the feelings of the moment. Usually sometimes we're writing for a deliberate time, like Valentine's Day, or a deliberate thing. And so put the moment in it too, where I'm probably not explaining this one very well, but that you're putting this in so that you're moving, so they're having a moment reading it, so that you've had a moment, they've had a moment. Yeah, I'm going to skip that one now. Let's see. It's a reminder of your history, or if you're still young in the relationship, it's a hope of your history, a hope of what you hope your history to be. And so, put in the things that are that are personal of your history, of the things you two did, of the things. I mean, and love letters don't have to be just to a spouse. They can be to a friend, and Margaret is one of my friends, and I remember the first time I met Margaret, and we both have said this was so interesting, and you, Rose and Trish, know Margaret. I was in Sunday school, and she was giving a lesson, and something about this moment in time something clicked, and it was like, I'm gonna get to know this woman. And she did we didn't know this until years later, and we were talking about it and reflecting about our history. And she said, you were wearing a red dress, you were sitting in the back, and I was like, I was. But it was that connection, and remembering that connection. And so put in those moments of your histories that are meaningful, and that are those kinds of moments that both of you felt something, or both of you were moved by something. And then the last one is, put something a little extra in it. So like a wax seal, a pressed flower, a ribbon. I mean, back in the old days, that's what we would press flowers on books. We would, have a ribbon. We would have a ticket to a movie or something. And, I often would just spray my perfume in a little baggie to put in Alan's stuff when he would go away for the month. I'd put a little cotton ball in there, spray a little perfume. And then he would put it by his bed, and he would smell it sometimes when he was gone. And just because that flood of memories that comes back, that there are certain scents, food being one, that we just like, the sense of perfumes and flowers and those kinds of things bring up memories. So scents, maybe something special from your first meeting. So something just a little extra to the love letter. So those are just, and I put down here, start small at first. If you're not very used to articulating your feelings in writing, in words, yeah, true, in words or in writing, then start small. You don't have to have it go big. And, you can, I have down here, letters, the types of letters. One of them is what I wish I could say, to somebody, or, kind of go through that thought. Letters to babies, someone who's gone, you can write these kinds of things, and they don't have to have them quite yet. I remember when I was a teenager, they would always have, every couple of years, our youth program would have parents write letters to us daughters. And I still have some of those. So your parent would write something out. I think I did it for some of my girls too. So those kinds of things will be their love letters. And love letters are saved. And love letters have meaning to people. So think about that. Tomorrow's Valentine's Day. You still got a little time. Think about writing a love letter to whoever you want to express love to. Sometimes we don't have enough of the expressing because we're so busy going. So that's the tip tonight, how to write a love letter and to write a love letter. So let's see. Tomorrow's Free for All Friday. We're going to talk about the fabric, naming of the fabric. Gonna bring those out. And you can vote on the stories in my Instagram or Facebook. And then, what else? This is the other thing. Since it's Love Day, I'm bringing Alan on tomorrow, the boyfriend. I'm going to bring him on, and we're just going to talk about marriage a little bit. If you have questions or thoughts that you want us to talk about, then put that in there. I wasn't sure about this. I mean, this is all kind of free for all Fridays. That's just whatever. It's kind of like whatever. I just said, hey, Alan, would you go on my free for all Friday? And I asked him to go on this before for something else. He goes, no. So I said, I brought it up, and I didn't think he would do it. He goes, yeah. And I'm like, what? So he's going to come on tomorrow. Don't know how that's going to be, but that's part of Free for All Friday. It's spontaneous. It's unexpected. It's interactive. So yeah, if you have some thoughts, let me see what else I'm for tomorrow. It's Valentine's Day. I don't know. I think that's it. Okay. So until tomorrow, remember you have a creative heartbeat, so listen for it. And we will be back tomorrow. Bye.